It's my great honor to introduce you to our guest today, Allison Haddon, Director of Product Marketing at Glassdoor, Judy Fung, Manager of Employment Brand at VMware Inc., and Price Smith, Social Media Manager for Employment Brand at VMware. But again, members, welcome to the webcast here, How to Message Your Employer Brand in an Authentic Way. And again, I'd like to welcome, personally, all of our wonderful guests too here. Allison, Judy, and Price, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having us, Daniel.
Thanks. Yeah, thanks for having us, Daniel. Really happy to be here. This is Allison Haddon, Director of Product Marketing at Glassdoor. Really excited to be here with Price Smith and Judy Fung from VMware as we talk about employer branding and kind of the rise in transparency and the changing ways that candidates are researching companies and making decisions. A little bit about our agenda today. We're going to talk about transparency in your employer brand. We are going to talk about how to get your employees on board, some great tactical action items so that you can walk away and return with some to-dos with you and your team, talking about steps to ensuring transparency, how to leverage internal and external resources. We're going to talk about enabling sourcers and recruiters to tell your story. And then, as Dan talked about, hopefully we'll have some time for some questions from you. And as Dan said, remember, feel free to interact on Twitter. If you hear something that sounds great or you want to take a screenshot, you can use the hashtag HCI Webcast and also the hashtag Glassdoor. So running into things right now, I want to talk about kind of what we're learning about today's candidates. When it comes to attracting and retaining top talent, as most of you know who are on the phone, employer branding has really only come up as a word in the last couple years that we've been seeing in human capital management. When we look at some statistics today that help us really frame what's happening with today's candidates, 51% actually have buyer's remorse. These are new employees, essentially, according to a DDI study of about 2,300 new hires that took place last year. 51% of new employees today have buyer's remorse, with 88% looking to leave within 6 months because they said the hiring process failed to paint an accurate picture of the job. As a result, today's candidates are really looking for more than just the employer's perspective. The sort of traditional channels through which today's candidates would look around for information about a job in a company, things like an employer's career site, the job description, or even conversations with recruiters or talent acquisition leaders, those traditional channels have kind of led to some mixed expectations. And as a result, today's candidates are seeking out information from new channels that didn't even exist 4, 5, 6 years ago. And it's turning out that they're actually putting more trust in some of these new channels. According to Nielsen research, for example, 70% of buyers today trust online reviews and ratings as a source of brand information. So it's not surprising that when we look at today's candidates, that it's really no different. 95% of today's job seekers in a Glassdoor poll of our 22 million members say that reviews from those on the inside are actually really influential when deciding where to work. So basically, a company's reputation today has way more of an impact than you might expect because of these new channels, especially things that are happening online that weren't around 4, 5, 6, and definitely 10 years ago. And this is a bit of a startling statistic, and I want everyone to make sure they're sitting down for this. According to a 2012 study by Corporate Responsibility Magazine and Allegis Group Services, 69% of today's candidates would not take a job with a company that had a bad reputation, brace yourself, even if they were unemployed. 69%, even if they were unemployed. And actually 84% would consider leaving their current job if they were offered another role at a company that had an excellent reputation. And if you're thinking, well, yeah, that company with a great reputation, it's probably just about offering that candidate more money. Well, most candidates in the 75 to 100K salary range would only require a 1 to 10% salary increase to consider that job with an employer that had a better reputation. So what does this mean for employers? And I promise you it's going to get better, and we're going to give you some great tips thanks to Judy and Price stepping in as well. So what does this mean for employers? What we know as a result of this, we can go to the next slide, is that a company's employer brand reputation today, more so than ever, directly impacts their ability to attract and retain top talent. In a 2013 survey by ERE of about 5,000 talent acquisition decision makers, there was a 50% cost per hire savings with a strong employer brand. Employer branding is no longer about creating a Facebook page or adding photos to a career site. There is a really dynamic set of strategies that can be used in leveraging both internal and external resources that can help a company build and really promote and amplify their employer brand. And that's going to have a direct impact on their recruiting efforts. It's obviously critical then that employers are promoting their brand where today's job seekers are looking for it. And as I mentioned, the traditional channels of a career site, of a job description, of a conversation with a recruiter or a hiring manager, today's candidates are looking for information outside or in addition to those traditional channels. And one of those channels that we know job seekers are going to today is Glassdoor. So, Glassdoor, our mission is essentially, to help people everywhere find the jobs and companies that they love. If we go to the next slide, you'll see that in a recent study by Software Advice in January, and this was a complete independent study. We only recently found out about it here at Glassdoor. They surveyed about 5,000 job seekers today, and 48% of them said that they use Glassdoor at some point in their search. So as a result, Glassdoor has become really the most trusted and transparent place for today's candidates to search for jobs and research companies. Why is this? Why are today's candidates going to Glassdoor in addition to some of those traditional channels that we just talked about to get information about jobs and companies? Well, on Glassdoor, we've got about 22 million members right now, but what makes us unique is we've got 6 million pieces of content, ratings, reviews, salary reports, interview experiences, photos, awards that are submitted by employees, creating this vast, transparent community through which job seekers can really get a 360-degree view of what it's like to work at a company. As a result, the job seekers that are on Glassdoor, and again, we've got about 22 million members right now, these are the types of candidates who are really actively engaged in their own career. They are doing a ton of research. They're looking at 4 to 7 reviews on a company before they form an opinion about it. These are the ones that employers are telling us, because they do their research on Glassdoor, they're turning out to be really an ideal fit for the job. And as a result, employers, we've started in the last couple years helping connect those employers with the candidates that are actively researching them on Glassdoor through employer branding and also job advertising. So how we do it, essentially, how we connect employers with these quality candidates on Glassdoor who are doing their research and are turning out to be the ideal candidates, we help them through job advertising and employer branding, as I just mentioned. We've got targeted job ads and also an enhanced profile, and really what differentiates us is our applicant quality and the influence that employers have today on candidates' decisions when they promote their brand and really tell their story and showcase their jobs in a forum like Glassdoor. The kind of results that we're delivering for employers, including VMware, which I'm sure Price and Judy are going to talk about, is basically better applicant quality. When we talk about the candidates today that are researching companies on Glassdoor, they're well-informed and they're highly selective when it comes to applying for jobs, which means that they're only applying to the jobs that are an ideal fit. As a result, employers don't have to deal with mountains of unqualified applications, which saves them time, and that results to better applicant quality versus traditional job boards where you might be getting significantly more unqualified applicants. Since Glassdoor is delivering fewer of those kind of trash resumes that every recruiter hates having to sift through, employers are only paying for the remaining high-quality applicants, not those junk resumes. So lower cost per hire versus other recruitment channels emails is definitely one of the results we're delivering across the board as well for our clients. And then the influence over candidates' decisions. As I mentioned before, Glassdoor is the place where almost half of all job seekers today are going at some point in their search to research a company and make decisions. And as a result, it's creating a fantastic opportunity for employers to promote their brand, to tell their story, basically in the place where candidates are looking for it. So with that, I'd love to turn it over to Judy to talk about how to get started in taking this information about today's candidates, where they're looking for information, what's important to them when it comes to evaluating employers, and how kind of transparency plays a part in all of this. So take it away, Judy.
Thanks, Allison.
Sure.
Hi, everyone. As Allison mentioned, I manage the employment brand and recruitment marketing at VMware, and I'm really excited to share with you some of the perspectives on how we go about communicating our story, what it's like to work here, what motivates our people, and what our workplace is like in an authentic way. Before I begin, I want to share a quote with you that many of you may have heard. Tony Hsieh, CEO of Zappos, has popularized this quote, which is, "A great brand is a story that never stops unfolding." So what that means at VMware, we really take that to heart. What that means as we tell our story around our employment brand is that we do see our story as multi-layered and robust and dynamic, and it's something that's always unfolding day to day, week to week. So in the next few slides, you'll see some of that brand story unfold and how we engage our employees to get to the authentic nature of it. But first and foremost, before going to that slide, I do want to convey that our employment brand story starts with our very own people, and that means we strive to highlight their experience and through their lens. And as an HR group overall, we're very employee-centric. We use employee-based research and focus group surveys and real-time crowdsourcing to listen to our employees, to help improve their experience and to also help make our campaigns very relevant. So moving on to the next slide. Moving on to the Architects of What's Next slide. This is our most current and prominent example of our employment brand story. This is a campaign where we started off with employee focus groups. We asked them why they came to VMware and why did they stay to do their best work. And what we found was a common and resounding thread: to make a difference, to be on the leading edge, and to really make a difference in what's next in the IT industry. So what you're seeing here is the employee engagement aspect of the campaign. We launched it internally first. We let them know this is the message, this is the essence of what you told us, architecting what's next. And then we asked them to personalize it by, we gave them What's Next mugs, and we asked them to personalize, what does that mean to you? What does that mean to your team? What does that mean to you being part of a larger whole? And we got a variety of responses, a lot of fun ones and a lot of ones that are very specific to what the particular person did in their group. And here you're seeing across disciplines, whether it be R&D or support or marketing or IT, a lot of different responses about what's next for this person. And what we did was we took the content that was shared internally by our own employees, shared it back with them, and then also asked them for permission to share it externally. So we really wanted to give that lens, that look into our company, and also show the fun nature of our company. So in the next slide, what you're seeing is the imagery of the brand of the campaign around what's next. We wanted to make sure it was consistent and that it was differentiating us and that it was based on research that came from our employees. So you're seeing our Facebook ads, you're seeing our Facebook cover, and other social content posts that were created, as well as the Glassdoor ads on the very bottom there. And you can see there's the consistency, but we also wanted to keep our employees there as reoccurring characters of the story. So that's why we also highlighted them there. The Glassdoor ads in particular did perform very well for us. When we launched the ads within the Glassdoor platform, we found a very high click-through rate, and we saw that people were going to our career site. So that told us that people were resonating with the creative and they're interested in learning more. Moving on to the next slide. Aside from our social channels, aside from our career site, we also want to take the approach of communicating our employment brand story with authenticity to the other things that we do. So here you're looking at a print ad that we did where after we were recognized for being a top workplace, we brought it back to our employees. We thanked our employees. We highlighted one of our very tenured principal engineers at that time, and we really wanted to capture the essence of, that great essence of why they're coming and doing great things at VMware. So not only are we doing it in our social channels and social sharing, but we also want to make sure that the strategy of having our employees at the center is carried over in all that we do. Which brings us to the next slide. So interactive newsletters, newsletters where it's trackable, where we can embed content and repurpose content that we've already created is also another area and a touch point where we, again, have the consistent look and feel and the feel that differentiates us, and we're bringing it back to what the employees are saying. So they're talking about their challenges and projects that they're working on, the rewards that they get. They're also talking about the experience and the different events that are happening. We do that, we take all of those stories and we repurpose it and put them into different types of things like interactive newsletters. Now moving on to the next slide, another campaign that I really, really enjoyed. So this was a year ago, right before Architects of What's Next. We did the Corporate Crush campaign. And how this campaign started is, it really happened around a focus group where we were talking to some of our top engineers. And we asked them, and we always ask this, because we want to stay close to the pulse of this. We asked them, why did you come to VMware? Why do you continue to stay and do your best work? And, a variety of things were mentioned. But one thing that really stood out was one engineer said that the first time he used VMware technology, the first time he opened up the product and loaded it in and saw it work, it was really a moment of technical awe for him. He had respect. It was a gold standard for him, and that's why he wanted to come to VMware, because he had a corporate crush, he admitted. He really fell for VMware technology. So we loved what he said about that, and we wanted to ask other employees, well, how many other employees have a corporate crush on VMware? What does that mean to them to really love the place that you work at? And we asked them, and for employees that responded, we gave them this fun, loving, whimsical bobblehead, which we lovingly dubbed the I Love VMware bobblehead, and employees just loved it. They wanted to have one, and we said, well, you can definitely have one. We just wanted you to participate in this campaign that's going on. And so what you're seeing here is a picture of the word heart, where people shared what they thought, why they loved VMware. And then on the right, you're seeing the pictures of the bobblehead traveling around the world, going to industry events, and appearing in Instagram posts. So this is one of my favorite campaigns because it really just brought out the heart and the essence of our people. Now moving on to the next slide. Jumping back to Architects of What's Next, our current campaign, we have a lot of different touch points. We have a lot of different channels and ways to connect with potential new hires. And what we try to do is make sure that our authentic story is told consistently throughout all of these channels, and that we are, where we can, to make it visually appealing and enhancing, and giving that authentic story of what it's like to work here while allowing people to be able to connect with us easily. And that's really what you're seeing here. So I'd like to pass the ball right now to Price Smith, who manages our social campaigns and our social channels, to talk about what authenticity means when she's planning and generating content.
Thanks, Judy. So how is everyone on the call? Have you taken away any relevant strategies for you and your team at work yet? Awesome. So I'd like to quickly pass it over to Daniel so we can all take a quick poll, and then we'll dive into 5 steps that my team proactively takes and that your team can take as well to ensure transparency when connecting with top talent.
Thank you, Bryce. And members, that poll is now open. Today's question, how would you rate yourself when it comes to having a transparent employer brand, with 5 being the most transparent? And we'll give you a couple of seconds here to get your responses in. Hopefully you want to get the chance to let your voice be heard. And Price, I think you can see some of these results as they're coming in. Is this kind of what you expected, or how do you feel about these numbers coming in?
Yeah, it seems like right now people are kind of leaning towards the middle, half and half. I guess some people feeling comfortable that their employer is transparent, and maybe some a little bit unsure. But pretty interesting findings. So yeah, I guess if we want to move along, one of the first and really most crucial steps in helping ensure transparency for all of us in our employer is building out an editorial calendar. So at the beginning of each year, the VMware Employment Brand Team sits down together to pause and reflect on, where we've been, what's next, and how we plan on executing on these plans. From this initial brainstorm, we built out an editorial calendar for the year. So we ended up doing this after we got back from the holidays, our team at VMware. And as Judy mentioned earlier, the story never stops unfolding. Due to this, we're always looking for opportunistic story leads to really infuse and refresh the editorial calendar. So it's always a working document, so just keep that in mind. Some examples of stories and areas we look to amplify here at VMware in our editorial calendar include people and team stories, academic conferences, hiring initiatives across the globe, holiday and cultural events to, bring some of that fun spunk at our office into our stories, and even awards and recognitions. So after we've identified these key focus areas for our editorial calendar, we then go and connect with various directors, managers, and employee brand journalists to help drive and identify key VMware people across the globe to help bring the stories to life in an authentic and compelling way. So here you see on the slide is an example of an employment brand editorial calendar that you and your team could potentially leverage. Here at VMware, we currently house our master editorial calendar in the cloud in an Excel document. This really allows us to, quickly edit it and share it with one another and other teams who are helping us bring our projects to life. So I guess moving on to the next slide, another step to really leverage and think about, or what we've leveraged, are Glassdoor reviews in our First Impressions survey, which is a biweekly internal survey that goes out to all of our new hires at VMware. We use the Glassdoor reviews and the First Impressions survey as checkpoints, to get a pulse on our strengths and weaknesses as an employer. And these findings, in the end, really help inform and shape the editorial calendar that we build out. So in 2012, we actually noted several Glassdoor reviews that were highlighting growth and development as a pain point for us. Instead of ignoring that, we took these findings back to internal stakeholders and created editorial content to help amplify the fact that our people can leverage a variety of development opportunities to grow both professionally and personally here at VMware. And an example of these stories that we built out was around the VMware Take 3 program. Take 3, also known as T3 internally, is a program intended for our people to drive continued innovation by giving these employees an opportunity to really take a break from their usual work responsibilities for up to 3 months. So this time is spent by, rotating into another team to learn and contribute their expertise, work on an advanced development research project or learning activity, going out in the field with the sales organization, or even participating in an extended service learning giving back experience. So to bring these stories to life, we empowered our own people that have participated in the T3 program to share their takeaways. We shared these findings and takeaways both internally and externally on the VMware Careers social channels in the form of blog posts and YouTube videos. And really our hope in doing this was that both current employees that weren't aware of these opportunities could in the future take advantage of growth opportunities like T3 provides, and that also future employees could as well learn about how they can grow at VMware. And then I guess moving back to the first impressions survey, this survey really allows our new employees the opportunity to shed light on their initial interactions with VMware, the hiring process, what is working, and what we could improve upon. So we proactively, review these results every couple of weeks, get together quarterly with key stakeholders, and we noticed comments around the need. Well, I guess an example, just bringing an example to life, is that we noticed a need for more regular communications with our recruiters and staffing employees. So we took this feedback and shared it with staffing directors who then relayed this information with their teams. And these efforts and examples with the First Impressions Survey and Glassdoor really, I guess, bring to life, our continuous drive to be transparent and effective when conveying our employer brand. So I guess moving along, being responsive, listen, and answering with a human touch. These are really all important characteristics to both future and current employees. No matter the social channel we're active on from an employment brand perspective here at VMware, I really try to be prompt and transparent with inquiries. One example of this was when we were transitioning from one vendor to another as our main host of VMware jobs at the end of this past year, 2013. Community members and candidates were experiencing some technical issues when trying to apply to our jobs. And several people even reached out socially inquiring about the issue. We listened. We responded on our social channels, highlighting the fact, that we were aware of the apply issues and any frustrations that it might have caused, showing transparency and a human touch. And we provided a direct link so that the community members that were having issues could successfully apply to all of our jobs while we were trying to mitigate and resolve the issues on our job site. And in the end, people in our community were really appreciative of the fact that we acknowledged the issue in a timely manner. As you can see on this current slide, this is an actual communication we pushed out on LinkedIn while this whole situation was taking place. And really overall, as the social media manager of our employment brand, I've noticed that people sometimes really are surprised when they receive a quick and genuine response in the social space. So acknowledging a communication, whether positive or negative, that's the key one, whether positive or negative, can really go a long way and ultimately help foster that thriving talent community that we're all looking for as employers. So I guess moving on, our internal social network at VMware, it's called VMware Link. It's powered by Socialcast. This platform really allows our people across the globe to easily connect and share information with one another. our team, the team I'm on, team Judy and I are on, really leverages VMware Link to identify story leads, highlight people and team stories, and engage in two-way conversations and even, sharing employment brand campaigns with our people. So here you'll see on the slide, I don't know, it might be tiny font for you all, but here on this slide you'll notice communications that I pushed out around Engineers Week 2014, which was actually only a couple of weeks ago. It was February 16th through the 22nd. So for Engineers Week, we spotlighted 4 VMware engineers from our office sites around the world and social blog posts that were shared internally and externally. This image shows really the thought share around the topic. It's actually cropped out, but I wish you could have seen it. Another employee that isn't on our direct team ended up chiming in with a direct link to the Engineers Week website and, was saying, check this out. You can learn about other opportunities to get involved because, the Engineers Week website had some great resources for people to get involved in both their local and global communities around, engineering. So ultimately, VMware Link, this internal social platform, has been a great tool as it helps the mission we have here at VMware to connect our people globally with their colleagues and really make them feel a part of that larger whole. Moving along, external social media channels. Here at VMware and on our team, we use both free and paid tools, some examples being Spreadfast, Radian6, Omniture, LinkedIn, Glassdoor, and even Quora, to really listen and track sentiment and conversations around employee life at VMware. Like we've discussed about other areas, these insights also help shape our employment brand strategy. An example of this is one of our 2013 social collaboration projects with our global recruiters. So what we did, we ended up connecting with our staffing employees on the top 10 most frequently asked questions from candidates that they had received while at VMware. From these findings, we then created a social post-episode series that highlighted each question, a VMware staffing employee, their response to the question, and ways for candidates to then socially connect with that particular staffing employee. This project really is just an example of how we strive to continuously listen to our talent community and be authentic by providing a means for that two-way communication. Another example, moving on to the next slide, of how we empower our recruiters and sourcers to make sure they're telling their story and helping amplify our efforts is this Architects of What's Next, 15 Ways to be a Talent Brand Expert infographic, which it was a pretty fun project to work on. So this task sheet was a fun way for our employees, the staffing employees, to engage and amplify our people stories and help create that sense of community while also piquing the interest of potential talent around, what's next at VMware, their careers, the future employees or talent community, as well as the technology industry. Active participants, so our employees that participated in this, ended up receiving a fun Architects of What's Next t-shirt, which you can see at the bottom right hand of the infographic. There's a mini version of the t-shirt. And also the site with the most participation ended up receiving a happy hour. So it was a pretty cool project. So now I want to actually throw it back over to you, Judy, so that she can share some internal action items that everyone here on the webinar can take as food for thought when going back to your teams and building out your plan to grow your employer brand in an authentic way.
Thanks, Bryce. So What I was talking about earlier in terms of architects of what's next, Corporate Crush, the I Love VMware campaign, really that all centers around employee engagement. How do we make sure our employees are part of the conversation, that they're along part of our process, and that they're actually telling their stories? I think that's the key thing to take away, is really embracing the whole idea of engaging your employees when creating messaging campaigns and stories that you will then eventually share outside. So it really starts with the internal aspect of embracing employee engagement. And that's really what will kickstart the crowdsourcing and all the other things that happen with the campaign. So Price will also give you some key takeaways on what she just talked about from an external perspective.
Thanks. So some external action plans. Employees really make a company's brand, which I'm sure you all are aware of. They really are living examples, or the living and breathing examples that bring a company's culture to life. So keep this in mind when crafting and sharing your employment brand story. Another thing, be proactive about giving your employees the opportunity to help share your company's message. It shouldn't just all be on your staffing or people overseeing your employment brand message. Empower your people. So another thing is, you all, I guess, probably realize how powerful word of mouth is in our society. So your employees are often, the first ones to help communicate and amplify an employer's culture and brand externally. So just empower your people, recognize them for these efforts of communications and storytelling when they do a great job. And then I guess lastly, be authentic. Being timely and crafting your communications with a human touch really helps build strong relationships and trust with your talent community. And I'm actually going to throw it back over to you, Judy, one last time.
Cool. Thanks. What I really want to just show here is that we continue to partner and use Glassdoor to get our employment brand story out to people to potential new hires, and that we've used it especially for engineering positions in the Bay Area, and it's been paying off for us. It's a great return on investment. We know that this is a key area that job seekers go to when researching a company, so that's why we use both the employer profiles and job ads, and it's something that we will continue to use. It's just it's a no-brainer in that it's a key area where people are going to find out more about a company, and that's where we want to be smart about using it. All right, and let's open up the floor to any questions.
Great. Well, thank you. Big thank you to both actually Allison, Judy, and Price for giving us just a very in-depth look at a concept vital to drive in engagement in talent acquisition, and definitely the role that branding plays in that kind of moving forward into the future. We have had a number of questions come in through our question and answer interface, and we will get to as many as we can in the time that we have remaining. So HCI members, if you have yet to submit your question, I would encourage you to do so now. But maybe a quick question for me to kind of start things off. With respect to messaging your employment brand in an authentic way, how do you deal with thorny or hostile feedback from people making some posts out there?
Yeah, I can speak to this. This is, and I think it'd be great to hear from Judy and Price as well. When it comes to reviews and managing reviews on Glassdoor, just to kind of let people know how that process works, we do have a multi-tiered review process. Essentially, an employee is not able to post a review on Glassdoor and it goes up automatically. We have a technology that essentially looks for gaming of the system. It checks IP addresses. And then every piece of content that's submitted by an employee on Glassdoor goes through our content moderation team that's located in Ohio, who essentially will vet each piece of feedback and ensure that it meets our community guidelines. If anyone thinks that a piece of content or a review should go through another round of moderation, anyone can just essentially flag the piece of content or flag the review on Glassdoor so it goes through that process again. Also, any employer that has a free employer account, they can just essentially respond to a review publicly, which kind of in this era of transparency, job seekers aren't looking for perfection from employers. They're looking for that engagement. And so I would recommend that people do those things and just keep in mind responding and being engaged is really what the job seekers want, even if it's something that might be seen as negative or an area of criticism.
Thank you. Another question in from one of our members. How can I publicly respond to reviews on our company page on Glassdoor?
I will take that one. I just kind of mentioned it, but essentially anyone who is a representative of the company, someone who works in HR, talent acquisition, even marketing and PR, can go to Glassdoor, can sign up for a free employer account by submitting their email, and then once they have login access, they will have the opportunity to not only view all of the reviews that are there on the site, but also be able to respond publicly. And if anybody has questions, they can reach out to me directly after the webinar as well, and I'm happy to help.
Thank you again. Another question here from member Heather says she was under the impression that maybe we could talk a little bit about some tips and tricks, how to get the most bang for the buck in setting up an impactful Glassdoor profile. Does anybody maybe have a couple of hints they'd like to share to the members?
Yeah, Judy or Price, do you guys want to take this and maybe talk about some of the things that you did on your Glassdoor profile to help promote VMware's brand?
Yeah, sure. I can kick it off, and Price, if you want to add more. As I mentioned earlier, we try to be as consistent as we can with the way that from an integrated marketing standpoint. So what we have on our career site will take some of those pieces of a messaging themes, and we brought that into our Glassdoor profile to make sure that job seekers are feeling like, okay, they can get the information from Glassdoor that is different from reviews, but also similar in looking at rewards and recognition and different things that we say about ourselves that we can project. So we try to take themes and make it consistent and put it into our Glassdoor profile. But we also really embrace the imagery and picture section as well. So we want to show, what our culture is like, what our people is like, what our people are like, what are they working on through pictures. So that's something that I've heard feedback on that they really like learning more about our company through that particular section of the company profile. Price, would you add anything to that?
Yeah, I guess just quickly to add on, just from an overview, we have kind of that overview or sales statement of VMware. Then we have kind of text or a statement around our values and our culture, the benefits and perks of our sites. If you have a university relations program, then we kind of have a section geared towards students and what students can expect in an internship or recent grad opportunity at VMware. We also leverage a lot of those great videos that our content producer creates and embed those on our Glassdoor page as well. And then as Judy mentioned, just recognizing or highlighting those awards and recognitions that we've received as an employer across the globe. We've, put the virtual badges on our page and where possible hyperlinks to articles to learn more about those recognitions. So just trying to have a well-rounded story, both with text, video, and photos, like Judy mentioned. That's what some tips and tricks that you can leverage.
Thank you. I guess kind of piggybacking on that, we have another question from a member. I guess what's your policy whenever somebody who was presented in one of the ads or websites leaves the company? Do you guys do any updates to any of the marketing images that you use or where you place those ads?
Yeah. So that has happened, and when that happens, when we ask to use it, we get some sort of written permission, whether it's in an email or a formal document. And 99% of the time, employees are totally fine with us using their image as long as we let them know what the intention is and where it will be used. So when they do leave, we try to update it on a timely basis. But really, because we have the permission to use it, we have a bit of a grace period, but we try to update it within anywhere from 3 to 6 months after they leave.
Thank you. Another question here from Keith, and he's asking a question around what does VMware do to make employees, especially new employees, feel comfortable or safe in sharing their views? It says transparency probably works for existing employees, but what about new employees? Is there anything you guys do to encourage that culture of transparency in the company where people are going to feel safe and welcome, kind of externalizing their opinions?
From an internal aspect, I can speak to it from an internal aspect, that there are a lot of checkpoints in place where managers are encouraged to talk with their new employees to talk about how their experience is going, what could be better. As Price had mentioned earlier, we also have the first impression survey, which is anonymous, and they can share whatever they want within the first, because we send it out within 2 weeks of their joining. We try and get some very close new perspectives from them. So there are different checkpoints, whether they be anonymous or in person, where we're trying to see how are you doing, what else could be improved. And then from that, we want to be working on improving or working on the experiences internally so that they are having a good experience.
Thank you. I have another question here from Dottie, and Dottie asks, do you have an internal employee promise at VMware?
Yeah, that's a great question. What we have is a global HR vision, and that's what our Senior VP of HR has been created and crafted for not only HR, but she's been working with the e-staff as well. But that vision is really centered around creating a rich, dynamic experience for talented global minds to thrive at VMware. So for VMware, or for our group within HR, as I mentioned earlier, that means we need to be very employee-centric, that we're responsive, that we're listening, and we're customizing their experiences and making it as full and as prosperous as possible for them to thrive in this global community.
Thank you. Another question coming in from member Andy. How much weight does brand loyalty or brand awareness carry in a candidate interview setting? Is it just an area where a strong employer brand is validated, or can it be used for screening applicants?
Yeah, I think that it is, brand loyalty, brand reputation. It's a huge thing. It's one of many pieces, though. But it does, because brand is so inclusive of experience. Like maybe you talk to a recruiter, you go onto a website, you go then interact with someone on a social space. There's so many different pieces that create this idea of a reputation, of an image, that yes, it's very important. It's huge. And for us, we look at it like an ecosystem. We look at it like, when a candidate or a potential candidate comes in contact with a recruiter, that's one part of creating that brand experience. Then, like I said, when they go onto the social channels or they hear about something in the media about what VMware is doing from a corporate standpoint, that again adds to their perception and idea of what VMware is like. And that's where we really need to be aware of all of these touch points. They all map to that whole entire experience, and that experience does matter a lot to candidates when they're choosing VMware. So I would look at it from an ecosystem perspective and really make sure that you're doing well in all the key points within the ecosystem.
Yeah, and this is Allison. Just to chime in, a couple of great resources that obviously aren't going to cost employers anything is, I'd encourage everyone to just go to Glassdoor, take a look at what employees and former employees are saying about your company right now in the form of reviews, but then also, we added in the last year the interview reports. So there are a ton of companies that are regularly monitoring not only what people are saying in the reviews section, but if they go to the interviews tab on Glassdoor, what candidates, either those that have been, who have received an offer, those who haven't, whether or not they've accepted it, they can give a really in-depth look for future candidates into how their interview experience went. It doesn't cost anybody anything. I would encourage every single person that's working in a talent acquisition or an HR, even a branding function who's on the webinar right now, to take a look at that and share that information with your team. Let people know, how the process is going and potentially identify where some of the gaps are. Typically, as long as there's a significant number of reviews and interview experiences, the information that's just on Glassdoor already is really helpful for employers to sort of get the pulse on how their brand stands today and even how their hiring and their interview process is going.
Thank you. Allison, probably another question for you here. I've had this actually come up on a couple of webcasts, so I'm glad that we get the chance to ask you. Questions coming in from Barbara, and she says, outside of an IP address, what sort of content is being reviewed at Glassdoor, meaning what type of review would not make it onto a company profile? I don't mean in the employee reviews. I mean when a review is reviewed, what sort of stuff is being taken into consideration as to whether or not it's suitable to be posted?
Yeah, that's a really great question. I'd encourage anybody to go to Glassdoor and take a look at our community guidelines, because that will actually outline all of the things that our content moderation team in Ohio are actually looking at. Things like language, obviously. Things like calling out people who are not in the public eye, who aren't in the C-suite. Someone can't go on Glassdoor and say, my manager Carl is awful. They could say my manager, but they can't call that person out. The idea around the community guidelines, looking for things like foul language, looking for things like calling out people by name, is we're trying to create this trusted and transparent community and trying to balance that with ensuring that it's a constructive forum for employees and former employees to share information that's going to help job seekers. If our content team deems a review or a piece of content as not constructive and not something that would help a future job seeker make a decision about that company, they're likely not going to allow it to go up on the site. Right now we've got about, and it sort of varies, but it really goes anywhere from a 13 to a 17% rate of not allowing reviews to go up. So 15 to 17% of those that are submitted right now don't actually go up live on the site. So that's kind of what we're doing right now. As I said, the community guidelines are a great way for you to understand what the content team is looking for. And just also a reminder, about 70% of the 22 million job seekers that are on Glassdoor right now say that they're actually okay or satisfied with their job. And the average company rating across 300,000 companies on Glassdoor is 3.2 out of 5. So the majority of people who are actually on Glassdoor are actually pretty happy with their current position. Sometimes when we focus on a review that might not be so positive, it might feel like everyone is there just to vent. But we've got those guidelines in place, and the majority of people on Glassdoor are actually pretty happy with their jobs.
Great, thank you.
Sure.
One more question coming here. What would you say is the biggest benefit of Glassdoor for kind of talent acquisition professionals and sourcers and such? Maybe we can get a round robin to what each of our presenters thinks.
Yeah, I defer over to Judy and Price to kind of chat about it first, and then I can fill in any gaps.
Yeah, I want to reiterate that our first impression survey, one of the questions that we ask is, what did you use to research the company? And Glassdoor comes up as a top source. So to us, at least from that pulse right there, we know that, okay, they're going to Glassdoor. It's a key area where there's research being done. And so for us, knowing that knowing where our people are going to research is first and foremost something that we use to strategize around what we want to do to now message our employment brand. So I think that that's where we're connecting the dots, is that people go there, it's valuable to them, we need to be there.
And this is Price. I think another kind of to add on to what Judy mentioned, since Glassdoor is an area that our employees tend to go to, in the ecosystem or decision-making process of joining VMware, it's helpful actually for us, Glassdoor, when you have an employee count to be able to log in on the back end, you can look at that data to get more insight onto the actual or into the people coming and visiting your profile, kind of the, I guess, psychographics, which is helpful along with the reviews to shape and build content so that we know we're really crafting custom content that will appeal to potential future employees. So leveraging those internal back-end resources has been a benefit for us as well.
Yeah, and then I guess it's Allison from Glassdoor, just to fill in the gaps. At a high level, I think what Price and Judy said is spot on. This is where today's candidates are going. It is, kind of the new channel through which they're researching and looking at jobs and making decisions. And I think for employers, Glassdoor really does a great job of kind of being that one-stop shop to help employers, advertise their jobs, promote their employer brand in the place where candidates are looking for it, and do it in a way that delivers, better quality applicants that are a better fit for the job at a lower cost per hire, helping people, obviously save money and save time and hopefully deliver the right applicants that are, ready to find the job and company they love.
Thank you. And I think I have time for one more we can squeeze in here. And it's probably more directed towards Price and Judy. What do you do about negative reviews? How do you respond when a candidate asks you specifically about a negative review they might have found online?
So I guess in an interview or in social communications, I guess we handle each situation, I guess, specifically based on the conversation or review they're inquiring about. But I guess the first thing is, listening, like we mentioned earlier in the preso, listening and recognizing what they're bringing to the table to discuss. And I guess if needed, we will connect with internal stakeholders that might have better insight into the particular review or comment so that we can really provide a well-rounded response. So we definitely will, respond, but sometimes we'll connect with other coworkers that would be able to help us provide that best response to handle the situation.
Yeah, and this is Allison. Oh,
sorry.
Go ahead, Judy.
To add to that, we also let people, like Price said, we're connecting with other groups where if it's a specific program issue or something, we're connecting with other groups so that we can pass the information along so that they can improve the process. And also just know, here are some of the perceptions that are going on. But then we also let that candidate know. There's this one example that I'm recalling where we let that candidate know that this is the other side as well. This is the whole picture. It is definitely up to you to decide. And these are just, this is one of many different things that you can use to help in your deciding factor. So I think when we put that out there, be transparent and let them know logic takes place and they can choose to decide however where they want to go with that.
And it's Alice. Yeah, I was just going to say quickly, I don't want to go late, but if you go to glassdoor.com/employers, in the top right-hand corner, there's a tab that says resources, and you can go to a page that gives some best practices on managing reviews, how to respond to reviews publicly, some best practices from other companies that have been doing a good job engaging the people that are on Glassdoor, and then also even opportunity to get an email template that you can send out to your current employees to get them more involved so they can tell their experience working at your company that can obviously help kind of boost the brand awareness with other candidates.
Great. Well, Terry, right from the source, hopefully that helps out a bit. Members, I'm afraid that we have run out of time for today's webcast, but please feel free to head over to our social media channels like our LinkedIn group page or onto Twitter using the hashtag HCIWebcast if you would like to continue the discussion via tweet or via comments there. I would like to say one more thank you to our guests, Allison, Judy, and Price, and to Glassdoor for making this webcast possible. And, of course, the biggest thank you of all goes out to all of our HCI members. We appreciate you taking time out of your afternoon to spend with us, and we look forward to seeing you on another webcast again soon. Members, keep in mind, if you have some colleagues who were unable to join you for the live webcast, definitely come back to this web page later on in the afternoon, probably early evening, and we will have this webcast ready for you on demand. You can just send the link and pass on the views to some other peers. Thanks, everybody, and have a great day out there.